What can we conclude from this historic decision? First, we have yet another example of the court simply making up laws out of thin air. As both the opinion and dissent noted, there is no immunity clause for the president in the Constitution. Yet the court makes one up. The court claims that the separation of powers grants the president immunity, but said immunity is actually a contradiction of the separation of powers by preventing the judicial branch from doing what it is constitutionally bound to do. It appears that the courts need to take a very close look in the mirror, for it seems to be projecting itself on the dissent. The dissent's positions in the end boil down to ignoring the Constitution's separation of power and the court's precedent, and instead fear-mongering on the basis of extreme hypotheticals about a future where the president feels empowered to violate federal criminal law. It is not the dissent that's ignoring the Constitution, but the majority. The separation of powers is just that, separation of powers, not isolation of the branches of government. By claiming the executive has power to evade the power of the judiciary, it is the court that is violating separation of powers. The court's disregard of the Constitution goes far beyond Donald Trump and his January 6 actions. Consider the attacks against pro-life advocates, Roman Catholics, and so many more by the Biden administration's so-called Department of Justice. The armored raid of people's houses who are accused of misdemeanors, the targeting of political opponents as potential domestic extremists, and the coercion of social media outlets to suppress information. Those acts are deprivation of rights under color of law and a federal crime under 18 U.S.C. Section 242. If any of those acts can be tied back to Joe Biden, that would make him a conspirator and criminally liable under Section 241. But according to the court, Mr. Biden is immune from prosecution and effectively immune from investigation, since there's no need to investigate a crime that cannot be prosecuted. It's not just Joe Biden. Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and even Jimmy Carter are living presidents who have committed crimes for which they cannot be held legally accountable, thanks to this court. The court looked at examples of malicious prosecution, and rather than finding out the truth and applying the law, they got into politics and made the law. Rather than punishing the bad actors in these cases, the court has exposed each and every American to an expansion of the tyranny already coming from the executive branch. After all, since there's no distinction made in the Constitution for the president when it comes to criminal charges, how can the court not logically extend them to those who work for him? Since those in the executive branch are exercising the powers vested in the president, don't they get the same protection? This opinion is so bad, such a violation of the justice's oath of office, that I believe it rises to the point of bad behavior. I don't believe justices should be impeached over their opinions, and I don't believe that justices shouldn't be impeached simply for this opinion. But when the courts protect criminal activity via mock trial, when such a long train of abuses and usurpations, evidence is designed to reduce us under absolute despotism, I believe it is imperative that the justices responsible be held accountable. After all, it is this court that has claimed that you have no redress of grievance against a president who commits a criminal act. They have conspired to deprive the American people of their right to seek redress under color of law, making this a conspiracy to deprive us of rights protected under the color of law. If this is the state of our republic, then someone should have told Benjamin Franklin that we were only able to keep it for about 230 years.